around the Commonwealth, with I think a specific focus on former fossil fuel sites. One of the changes that has been suggested, as April said, she was actually in Richmond yesterday talking to some folks about the bill, is to include VEDP as one of the agencies that would be supporting this, since there is a lot of economic development opportunity there. And then also to broaden the terminology beyond just small modular reactors to also include basically any advanced reactor technology. So that could be microreactors, that could be larger advanced reactors, which it sounds like those were both suggestions that were received positively, and they're just working through the process now. So at our March meeting, we hope that we'll have an positive update on the development for that. There's not, funding associated with it. It's really just charging this group, hopefully VEDP, and Virginia Energy, to go and actually really start studying this. I think we'll remember the proposal for the Build Back Better grant included some language about this, and thank you to Dominion. They've helped move some of this along, and really I think set Virginia up potentially for some really attractive new projects, hopefully.
The sponsors of that bill, I forgot.
Kilgore's the lead sponsor, which is great. He's in the leadership, and that's April actually had a conversation with him yesterday. So it was voted out of the subcommittee yesterday with strong support. The Senate looks like it should be favorable, and then there's some ongoing discussion with the House of any changes or modifications. But so far, I think it's garnering good support, which is great. And with that, one of the things I'm working on for our next meeting is actually seeing if we can have someone from maybe TerraPower or one of the associated groups that's working on the Nature project in Wyoming to have a discussion of kind of how that's progressing and the opportunity with the project at a former coal site, which is really interesting and could be a good example for the Commonwealth to look at. So hopefully we'll have a speaker that can talk to that at our next meeting. And then the last thing was on the Virginia Energy Plan. April mentioned that they're working on convening kind of a VNEC meeting with representatives in the governor's office and with the Secretary of Commerce and Trade to kind of put a marker down on some of the priorities around nuclear using the roadmap that's already been developed. There's a lot of material that's already there, but just want to make sure we're highlighting it for the new administration as they put together the strategy around the energy plan, and obviously the formal opportunities to provide input. But as we talked about in December, the last go-round, the train kind of left the station, and we were playing catch-up on actually just getting nuclear as part of the conversation. So I think this will be a good opportunity to get out in front of that a little bit.
Yeah, this administration is very supportive of nuclear.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that'll be a really good conversation and opportunity there. Questions on the VNEC activities? All right. So you have a copy of the minutes from the December meeting. Why don't we take just a couple minutes if anybody needs to review, we can provide any changes, and then take a motion to approve.
I believe I was here.
What's that?
I believe I was here for that one.
I think you were.
Yeah. I came in JLab.
Add Bill. Okay. Good. All right. Any other changes or things we missed or need to amend? So I think we'll add Bill, but do I have a motion to approve the minutes with the addition? Andrew?
Second.
Second from Scott. Great. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Great. So we talked about the General Assembly. Was there any other updates from the Assembly?
No, it doesn't.
All right, so we talked about HB 894. On the nuclear news, I had a couple things. There's actually a lot going on at the federal level between the Department of Energy putting out requests for information related to nuclear. Seems like every other week. They had a major department review of supply chain challenges across the energy space, including nuclear. I know there were a number of associations and companies that put in comments on that. They just closed out a RFI on availability of high-assay LEU for, as we've talked a lot about, essential for deployment of advanced reactors. The next steps on that are a little unclear, mainly because right now there's no money for it, unfortunately. Or I shouldn't say no money, there's very little money. But hopefully that will start to change. And then there are two RFIs on the street right now that are related to nuclear. One is on the civil nuclear grant program, I guess is what we're calling it, or but it's allowing for it's a 4-year program that we talked about last time that can provide financial support for plants at risk of shutdown. And there's also an RFI on generally on the hydrogen hub concept, one of which is supposed to be provided by nuclear. So I don't know if anybody else is tracking those closely or has any feedback, but those are the main ones. DOE's doing a lot right now, and if you know good people looking to help, DOE could use personnel. Let's put it that way. I know everybody can, but they're especially challenged right now.
Yeah, they have a major recruiting effort going on, hiring 1,000 people, so that's a lot for DOE.
Yes, and one of the things I did mention, they've actually sort of reorganized the department, although it's really just they've added the Clean Energy Demonstration Office, which is where we talked about the advanced reactor demos have moved into, and it's under a different undersecretary than what's called the Research and Development Programs, where the Office of Nuclear Energy and Office of Science and those are housed. So it should allow them to hopefully focus more on the deployment there. So then the only other thing I had, there's some positive news at the state level as well. West Virginia has voted to repeal their ban on new nuclear deployment, which is great. There's some other states, Indiana, that's also considering legislation around that. And Wyoming, related to some of the fossil, is actually looking at how their state is incentivizing that project and others to be deployed. And then we talked about what's going on here in Virginia. So again, a lot of positive momentum there. Other updates that I may have missed, or general this time for, are there company updates or announcements that anybody would like to offer? Okay. Andrew?
Yeah, so this week I received a letter from my local delegate, Mike Mullins, congratulating me on being reappointed to this body, which sounds to me like an invitation to go lobby. Do we have talking points that we could all use that would keep everybody doing the same thing?
April does. I'll ask her to send those to you.
That would be good to distribute. Because,
yeah.
I was surprised for a start, but it's positive.
Yep. Make a note of that. Any other announcements? So our next meeting is going to be March 29th It'll be here again. Like I said, we're trying to get a speaker specifically about the Natrium project and around the kind of deployment of nuclear at fossil sites. Gene, I've also talked with Steve about potentially doing an ANS general update at some point as well.
At the same time or different?
I don't know if we'll do the same meeting or not.
Probably not.
I think we don't. I think one speaker is probably good. Again, if you have other ideas for speakers, we started a list last time. Please feel free to send them to Eric or you can send them directly to me. But hopefully we can keep having them at each meeting. That's the goal. So unless there are other comments or questions, we will open it up for public comment.